Hello everyone, Ron again, and in this video we are going to talk about vocoding. So I have Fruity Vocoder loaded. There's another plugin called Vocodex, which is actually the newer version of this, if you will, but I decided to start with this one because it's simpler. So what vocoding is when one signal modulates another signal. So usually it's a voice. So here I've got a sampler, it's got a voice loaded. And then the vocoder, or there's a synthesizer that's going to play a sound, usually a synthesizer sound. And that sound is going to be modulated by the voice, because usually it's a voice or drums. And then that's how you get that type of like robotic speech, you know. It sounds very metallic and synthesizer, and it sounds like a synthesizer is talking. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So this is Fruity Vocoder. I'm starting with this one rather than Vocodex because this one is simpler to understand. Like, it helped me to understand how to use Vocodex, and I'm gonna just go over the basics of what it does real quick. So when you are vocoding, you have a modulator and a carrier. The carrier is the synthesizer because that is like carrying the sound, if you will. Like, it carries the sound that you hear. The modulator is more obvious when you think about it. It's the voice because the voice is modulating the other one, you know. So that sound is carrying the modulation. And that's one way to think of it, at least. You know, I would be lying if I said I knew why this is called the carrier sound. But anyway, those are the two things to consider. So modulator is the vocal and carrier is the synthesizer. The way this works is that you pan one of them left and pan one of them right. So if you look here, starting from the left, actually, you got frequency, because it's harder to control what frequency comes out. So you might have to tune the frequency of the vocoded information so that it is higher or is lower, you know, so it will be in tune with the song or whatever you're doing. If you're doing it just statically, then you might just want it to sound higher. Like in the manual, it talks about increasing the pitch if you want it to sound like a female, or decreasing it if you want it to sound like a male. So the minimum in this case is the minimum frequency that the vocoder is going to play, and the maximum is the maximum frequency. So you can see on the top left that it tells you that right there. So minimum is like 188 or something, 153 now, and that's pretty low. So like it starts off at 10, which is, I believe, it's like 20 to 20,000 hertz is the range of human hearing. So nobody's gonna hear, they're not gonna hear information that's all the way down there, you know. So you could turn this up. So frequency scale, I forgot what it does, to be honest with you. I remember when I was playing around with this, I didn't really use it. Or invert. Bandwidth is important, and I will discuss that after we begin. So then you have the environment, you got the attack time, and as I understand it, this, it's like how fast the full vocoding takes effect. I don't know if that's actually the technical way that you would describe it, but that's really what it sounds like. You know, it'll make more sense when I'm actually doing it. And release is the same thing, because in the same way that you have like, okay, that one doesn't have it. So let's go to like sampler here. Go track mode, instrument track, sampler, because it's easy. And I can give a visual example right here. So right here, you got an envelope. This is ADSR, right? So the attack time, as I said in previous videos, is how fast something gets like to its maximum. So here, it would take this amount of time to reach the maximum volume, right? Where if there's no attack time, it happens instantly in this case. The release is, if you were to take out some of these, the release is going to be that tail. And when you increase the release, it sounds more laggy when you vocode, like reverb. It even says that in the manual too. You know, so I can delete this. That was like a simple example. Get rid of that. So, moving on, right? So the first thing you're going to need is something that's going to be vocoded, in which case I have this voice right here. And it's just one of these. The one that says respect.
Respect.
You know, because it's funny to me.
Respect.
Anyhow, so we're going to be using that. Dragged it here, so it's on the playlist twice. And we need to choose a synthesizer. So I'm going to demonstrate how you might go about that. We're going to need another pattern so that this will really be interesting. This one's going to be mini synth, if I can spell it. Alright, so we're going to start with using mini synth because it's simpler. So what you want to do is, whoops, you want to take this. This is the mini synth. This is the voice. So I'll put the voice in the front. Change the color of it to red, so it's more obvious. You want to take this and assign this just to this channel. So you can hold down Control and click here. So now this is only going to the Vocoding channel. Then you take the synthesizer and do the same thing. So you can open Fruity Vocoder, and it's going to show you that the way it's set right now is that the modulator is on the left and the carrier is whatever is panned right. And that means in this channel. So you are going to pan the vocal all the way to the left and pan whatever carrier to the right. And if you make a mistake and it sounds crazy, then you can switch them. See? So no confusion. Obviously this right here is the mix level and it's labeled like that. So going below will make it less than 100%. This one has 125%, which is fascinating. So now let's play it and see what it sounds like. Now, obviously there's no sound. Why is that? You can see that the vocal is playing and that it is actually going through the vocoder. Here's the first thing to understand, right? You have to make the synthesizer play something. So we got to go into mini synth. Choose some note, perhaps. You know, I've been doing this with just one note. You can use chords, but I'll get into that later. There's a lot to actually understand. So I'm going to choose a note. Extend the note for the whole duration of what is playing, because you're not going to hear it anyway. You know, unless they're both playing at the same time. For example, see, it'll still pass through, but there's no sound. So if I turn this back on, now it seems like it's too quiet. So I'm gonna turn it up. Let's go to gain, fruity balance. Yeah. Oh no, I understand why it's happening. All right. I'll leave that there just in case I need limiting, because vocoding can get incredibly loud and you just don't want that. You don't want that to happen to your ears. You know, it might clip. So I'll actually turn Maximus back on. So let's look at this. And a good way to describe this is probably in terms of, there's one there. You can get rid of that one. So let's look at the filter. When you're choosing a synthesizer, and it says this in the manual too, you want to use one that has a lot of harmonics, because it's got to have the amount of harmonics that will cover the frequencies of the thing that you're trying to vocode. So to display this, we're going to have two EQs. And I'm going to mute this and just play the other two sounds. So check this out. Now you can see on the left, this is a vocal that's modulating this. And it's got frequencies that are down here. And this is not necessarily covering those. So it's going to sound like brighter, you know, rather than to cover the entire frequency range. What you can do too is you can actually filter these. And that will come up later when I talk about Vocodex. So you can filter, hit the wrong one. You can filter whatever the modulator is, and you can use that and try to improve the sound. And you can do the same thing for this too. You know, if you don't want frequencies down there. So let's see what it sounds like now.
Respect, 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 respect.
Okay, let's turn them off.
Respect.
It doesn't sound very different. So we're going to look at the reason for that. Another thing to consider is how many notes are here. It is possible to overdo this, but you might choose a lower frequency too.
Respect. Respect.
See how that changes the nature of the sound? So if you want to have a thicker sound, one way to do that is to add more notes.
Respect. Respect.
Or you could change the nature of the synthesizer. So we go to default.
Respect. Respect. Respect.
Turning it up produces a little bit of change.
Respect. Respect. Respect.
See, if I filter it,
Respect.
see how there are not enough frequencies? So it doesn't sound right.
Respect.
If I add resonance,
Respect. Respect. Respect.
it becomes brighter. Change the oscillator environment. Give it some release.
Respect. Respect.
And we can go here. Change the attack time, make it lower.
Respect. Respect.
See?
Respect. Respect.
See how it sounds like the vocoder is acting on it less quickly? So if I increase this,
Respect. Respect.
it seems to get a bit softer because it's being vocoded later. That's what I believe is happening. That's what it sounds like.
Respect.
Whereas here is instant.
Respect. Respect.
So somebody's calling me. They'll be all right. If you increase the release time,
Respect. Respect.
now you can see what I meant. How the vocoding duration is longer.
Respect. Respect. Respect.
You see, it gives it that release. Like if you were making the synthesizer itself longer. So this is how, one way that you contribute toward, how can I put this? Making it pronounce the word without making it unintelligible. Because if I increase this,
Respect.
you don't know what's being said. It's easier to understand down here.
Respect. 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 Respect.
See? So we're going to talk about the number of bands now, because you see this 16, 32. The more bands you have, it's going to divide up the sound that is the carrier into more bands. And it's kind of like literally what it sounds like, more frequency bands. So you can affect more of them individually, but it does take more CPU power. So
Respect. 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 Respect.
see? So there's more control over this sound than this one.
Respect. Respect.
Keep in mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that more is better. It could be too complicated.
Respect. Respect. Respect.
See? Sounds interesting, but not necessarily better.
Respect.
And with this, it sounds like it's only playing the high end,
Respect.
whereas that one's good. It says that in the manual too. Bandwidth is how wide each band is. So
Respect. 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 Respect.
So you may not need to mess with that either, depending on the synthesizer. You know, but these are things to keep in mind. And this right here is an EQ. So Alt. Hold down Alt and click, makes things go back to default. So this is an EQ, right? And why is this relevant? Because in the same way you would EQ a regular vocal, you can EQ a synthesizer to try to increase its intelligibility. So if I add another one of these, right, and I just add a filter, parametric EQ, close these other two because they have already served their function. And even this for right now, if I analyze the frequencies that the vocoder is outputting,
Respect. Respect.
you know, it's going to show me right here. And the same changes that I would make in the EQ, I might make here.
Respect.
So
Respect. 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 Respect.
see? So it gets slightly more intelligible.
Respect. Respect. Respect.
I pressed undo, it deleted this. That's funny. So I'll just have to do it because apparently you cannot undo this. So check it out.
Respect. 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 Respect.
See? So the idea is that you want it to sound more like the word respect, you know, because we know it's saying respect, but we know that because we put it there. And we can try increasing the pitch
Respect. 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 Respect.
or decreasing it,
Respect. Respect.
but it could sound terrible. So a lot of this is adjusting by ear.
Respect. Respect. Respect.
I like it up here.
Respect. Respect.
That's cool. Now keep in mind, if you wind up making something like this for any project, it doesn't have to be perfect. Because I was thinking about this, right? Let's say if you look at image line videos, a lot of them open up saying FL Studio Guru, but the graphic is there so you can read it. So if it's not totally intelligible to the point that you wouldn't understand it without seeing it, that may be okay because you might see it, you know? So that is something to consider. And we can try different synthesizers to achieve a different effect. So I have a GMS loaded here, and I'm gonna try that one too. So turn it to the right. I'm gonna take that one off. Then make it so that it's going to the vocoder. And of course, you can't forget to go here. Makes it so that it's actually playing something. And let's see what it sounds like. With the GMS, I didn't do anything to it. I just left it at its default. Here we go.
Respect. 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 Respect.
And I turned it down. Not loud enough.
Respect. 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 Respect.
There we go. The GMS actually sounds better. I will take this phaser off, take the reverb off. Might add distortion. Let's see.
Respect. 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 Respect.
So you can see here the y-axis is a filter, so that's a low passing, and the x-axis is distortion, which adds more upper harmonics naturally. So as I add more upper harmonics, you can hear that the sound becomes more clear.
Respect. 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 Respect.
Now let's glue that there because I like it. Consider that here I EQ'd, right? So we can look at this EQ again.
Respect. Respect.
See?
Respect.
It sort of resembles a human voice. You can see my voice up here,
Respect. Respect.
and that sounds pretty good.
Respect. 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 Respect.
Increase the release time. Sounds a little bit better to me, like more intelligible. Maybe I wouldn't use those frequencies. I would EQ after, but I would play around with this too. So
Respect. 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 Respect.
it sounds super metallic. I kind of like it.
Respect. 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 Respect.
Also, if you push these all the way down, it mutes them totally.
Respect. 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 Respect.
It's actually very hard to aim this. You can see this is over here. It's like moved over. That's weird. Anyway, so that should be enough. It's basic, but you can go and create some vocoding of your own. Now, I should be honest about how when I was experimenting, I was using Citrus because it's a lot better for sound design. But for the purpose of keeping things simple, I use GMS. GMS is still pretty good, not to take anything away from it. Because what I could do is, okay, that's already open, the parametric EQ. So if I go here and I add frequency modulation, it will change the way the sound sounds again. So let's try it. So you got FM.
Respect. 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 Respect.
And it's not changing it too much from what I can hear. But in Citrus, it's totally different because Citrus is far superior in this regard. But in the coming videos, I will explain that. You know, another thing to be considered is always, can I add more notes? So let's see what that sounds like real quick.
Respect. 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 Respect.
See? It's interesting. I meant to hit a G.
Respect.
Now it's a major chord.
Respect. Respect.
So sometimes that can affect the sound that you have and make it sound better.
Respect.
Ew.
Respect. Respect.
I like this metallic sound here. But that'll do it. So just keep in mind, one to the left, one to the right. And I suppose it's not something I chose to do, but you could add more than one synthesizer. You know, like GMS is there. I could have been like, have them both.
Respect. Respect.
That doesn't make a lot of sense. It may not recognize them. I think it would be better put them in one channel, like a layered sound, and then put that here.
Respect. Respect.
But it still doesn't do a whole lot. If you ask me, it doesn't make a big difference. It seems like GMS is just masking the mini synth. So those are the basics of how to use Fruity Vocoder. And I have not fully decided what to do in the next video because there's a lot to cover. There's a lot to talk about. Vocodex is very complex, but it is way better. So I decided to start with this because it's easy. You know, you just go in, you pick whatever you want, and you can experiment with different sounds as the carrier. But the modulator is usually going to be a voice or a drum. So that is something to keep in mind. And with that being said, that wraps up this video. And I hope that it was helpful to you. If you stuck around to the end, then I thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you like these. And share. I don't talk about sharing, but that would be helpful. You know, let other people see it. And with that being said, as usual, have an awesome day. Peace.